I want to know a little bit more about the Scott part there, okay? And I know that you told me you all from Arkansas. Did you grow up in Arkansas?
Yes, I was born in Prescott, Arkansas, 16 miles from Hope, Arkansas, where Atrilla is from.
Where
Yeah.
watermelons are from too. Okay. Okay, tell us a little bit about that. Just a little bit about growing up in Hope. In Arkansas.
In Prescott. I'm the oldest of 3 children. My mom and dad were outstanding parents. And once upon a time, Pete stayed with us. And he became like, well, he was my daddy's first cousin. And more like brothers. And I remember when Pete didn't come home one Sunday, I told this at their 50th anniversary. I was a little girl, of course, but Pete didn't come home and that Sunday we woke up to get ready for church, and he eventually came home that evening with Atrilla. We said, what? You got married and we didn't know? And so it was a big happiness to have Atrilla to become a part of us. But growing up in Arkansas, yes, I finished high school in 1963, and then I went to A&M College in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I met my husband in the 12th grade. I was a cheerleader. I met him at the first football game that year. And of course, he took me to the prom. And the Hope boys loved the Prescott girls. And that's why I came to California, because he was here. And he passed away. We were married 53 years when he passed away this July a year ago.
Well, could you tell us, just introduce yourself for just a minute here, because I just jumped right into your world without having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. Hey, please.
Well, I'm the mother of a beautiful daughter, Sonia, and of course, a grandmother of another beautiful young lady, Amina, and they both are in New Orleans right now. My daughter is helping her move in her home, and it's kind of lonely being here by myself, but I'm learning to do lots of things that I've never done before, because I never had to do those things before. And it's a blessing to be able to, that I'm old enough to still learn, and I want to learn, and I'm blessed. And I taught school for 33 years at Richmond High School, and my students keep in touch with me today. We're Facebook friends. I'm Facebooking 24/7, it seems like, with my Richmond High students and the other students that I taught during summer school. I have always been a workaholic. So wherever there was summer school, I would call the principal, say, pull my application, I want to work. And I did that, because it has always been a joy to teach someone, and many students. I love them all.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to join us here today. Sure. Thank you just so much for being here. Appreciate it. But in some of the conversations and the questions that I've had that have been sort of posed to me, when we start talking about conversations about race and racial justice through my lens, I'm asked to talk about it through my lens. And so I have a couple of questions related to that through your lens. And one of the questions that I want to ask you is that, have there been anything in your life that you can recall, I'll give you a minute or so to think about this, where you felt that you were in a situation where you may have been treated a certain way or experienced something that you felt inside of you that may have been directly related to your race? Just think about that for just a second. And if you did, if you ever experienced that, that's the first if. What was it about that situation? Was there anything in the situation that you just refused to compromise? Where you just said, there's no compromise here, this is who I am, and no compromise. Just think about it for a minute. Let me give you a minute. I'm going to be silent for a minute. Let you think.
I think since I'm considered a baby boomer, I have a lot of experiences. I grew up in North Long Beach. I was the only Black in all of my classes from kindergarten to the 5th grade. My family relocated to Central Long Beach, and it was a new awakening for me. I was around people that looked like me, that didn't talk like me, and I felt the discrimination within my own race. And then as I went to junior high school, once again, I went back to where the experiences from elementary school, but then there were experiences where you felt that you were made to feel like you didn't belong there. So you had to learn how to adapt between both worlds. High school and college were basically the same, but my mother always stressed to me, you can do anything and don't give up. And she always instilled in me, don't you cry in public, I don't care what happened. I told my granddaughter that, and she says, no, you raised me like that, I'm raising her like that. I said, oh, okay. I said, oh, okay. But you'd be very strong.
I was going to say that the instilling from my grandmother to be strong, because for me, being a young Black woman and being a professional, I have to navigate through those. And so there's that connotation that comes with being a Black woman that expresses herself or disagrees with something. All of a sudden, you are an angry Black woman. And so you have to be very careful with what you say and how you say it, because it's your truth and it's how you feel, but you don't want to offend anyone else in the room. And so I had an experience during my first year as a principal. I was the first African-American principal within the organization that I was with. And that one of the heads of the district called me in and he said, you're doing good in this, this, and this, but you know, we need to teach you how to communicate, because some cultures don't teach their children how to communicate. And so because Atrilla Scott runs through me deep, I stopped the conversation immediately. And I said, I'm sorry, we're talking about cultures and not teaching their children how to communicate. I'm African American, so are you saying that African Americans don't know how to communicate? And he turned bright red. He said, no. I said, no, I want to be clear. I don't want to walk away from this conversation without having a clear understanding. And of course, he backtracked really, really quick. But my friends and I had that conversation all the time, that when we are in professional settings, we find ourselves in situations where we have to think about what we're going to say before we say it. We can't just shoot from the hip like other people would do, because we have to be so concerned with how it's going to be perceived by other people. And that's something that we face all the time.
And I'm going to say, Atrilla, you sure got the right name. If you don't sound like your grandmother, she would have said those same words. I can hear her now. I mean, you really, my goodness, it's just been passed on down there. That's for sure. Okay, David, what about you? You experienced this as a Black man?
Experiences when I was a student at Long Beach State as a basketball player. Some of the things that happened on the road. When I was living in my little town of Oxnard, I remember one time we were coming, you know, we're all church kids, so we're at choir rehearsal and we're coming, choir rehearsal's over, we're all in the car, my sisters and brothers and all of us in the car, and we're driving through downtown Oxnard. All of a sudden, the light comes on and there's a police officer pulling us over. 5 police cars had us all get out of the car. I was under arrest, my brother was under arrest. They took us down to the police station and they put us in a drunk tank and we had to walk the line and accuse us of beating up a white woman. And we spent the night in jail. And finally that morning they came in and released us, said that they had the wrong person. That's just one of the experiences I went through. I know there's a hot issue now with the police. And that's just one of the things that went on. When I was at Long Beach State, we'd be on the road, like was in Texas, in Lubbock, Texas, and playing in a basketball game, and the fans are calling us all kinds of horrible names, and we ended up losing that game within Utah. We went to the NCAA playoffs, and we won our game, and we went back to our hotel, and because we were celebrating so loud, the police came, made the whole team go to the airport and leave. We'd go to restaurants and they would not serve us. Yeah, you know, just a lot of different experiences went on. And right now, those are great issues that are coming to the forefront, which is, I am really enjoying seeing this happening, that it's not just a Black issue, it's turned into a white issue now. And that's not only here in the United States, it's turned into a worldwide issue. As you talked about, different, you know, different countries are involved, things that went on are coming to the surface. And I'm just really hope that something will come out of this, and not for it to be just a fad.
Well, several things. You know, growing up in Prescott, Arkansas, segregation, of course. We had the white sign, the colored signs at the water fountain in the Prescott Hardware store. Of course, we faced racism there. And I remember going to college and coming back one Christmas holiday or spring break. I decided I was going to drink from the white sign of the water fountain. My dad didn't like that, but my mom, such a strong sister, told me the water was the same on both sides. So I chose the white side of the water fountain. And a couple people did say something to me, whites did say something to me, but since I was in college, I was tough for real. And I told them what I thought, what I believed in, and to leave me alone. Then once upon a time, I was back home again, and a white man outside said, "Hello, boy," to Daddy. And Daddy said, "Hi, Mr. whatever his name." And I stepped in again. I said, "He's my father. He is a grown man. Don't ever talk to my father like that." And my daddy said to me, "Wanda, you don't live here anymore." "I do." And I just thought, oh my dad, I have changed my attitude and I want you to change yours. Going to Cal State Hayward to get my teacher credentials, I was the token in the classroom. My first time ever in an integrated classroom. So of course, I had to speak up for myself, my rights, daily. I remember the doctor, I won't call his name, but he called on me each day to give my opinions about something. And so it made me a stronger person. I thought I was bad already before I walked in the classroom. And when I finished with that program, I knew then I was a tough sister myself. So it taught me to speak up when I didn't believe I could in the beginning. And then I started calling my mother because she had a little confrontation in the 5 and 10 store called the Sterling store. And what she told that person, I can do it for myself. And the man said, "Oh, let me call Martin Luther King. I know that's what she's going to do." She said she didn't need to call Martin Luther King. She was her own Martin Luther King. She could take up for herself. So many of us, my mom, I just feel like I was just doing exactly what my mom did in Arkansas. I was able to do it in California. And I'm bad like that, I do believe today, because of my mother, my tough mother.
I said, even in the workplace, you have to, there's usually only one. I know I've worked in the newspaper business for over 35 years, and there's always one token, and you're relied on heavily if you do your job well. When you do your job well, you have some managers through the course of my career, or I had to speak up and say, "I'm not Harriet Tubman, I can't get you to promised land," because newspaper business is based off revenue. And it can really be overbearing, and you can take a lot of pressure.
Well, it sounds to me like, you all are bringing me to sort of my closing question, so to speak, I think. And what I wanted to know with the closing question is sort of related to this. I think Sheila has already sort of responded to that in her comments when she talked about things that she has to do or confront every day, basically. And you talked about that. So that's my question, actually. It's like you already knew it. So my question had to do with the daily battles that you find that you're having now, even now, that you feel that you're having to fight those battles to win, so to speak. And the battles can be anything. It can be small, large, whatever, but somehow it's the thing that brings to your mind that it's something that you know that you're having to deal with, and to deal with in a way that makes it palatable, so to speak, to other people. And so is there anything that you feel that a daily battle that you feel that you're fighting every day? And I'm going to start with Sharon.
Our challenge is that the miscommunication between the generations. I feel that my generation, our parents made sure that we were structured and we were going in the right direction. But then my generation, we became liberated with the baby, not having a lot of children, having careers, living in a house with a white picket fence, all those things. And we had a tendency, not my family, but we had a tendency not share what had been instilled and brought down to us. I don't understand why young people don't vote. I don't understand why they communicate with profanity when there's other alternative words to make the same issue. I don't understand why they don't want to go to school. I don't understand why everyone wants to be an NFL, an NBA player, because I remember my father with his limited education saying you needed 5 things in order to be a successful person. You need to know how to read, write, add, subtract, and tell time. If you can master those things, you can do anything in this world. And I think our young people need to practice these things, get their skills up to par, learn a trade, because tomorrow is not promised. And we have a long way to go. So it's about progression, not regression. That's how I feel.
Thank you. David? I'm just going down the line now.
Usually when I do an exhibit and it goes on my tours, it goes on for a long time. And I walk them through all these different 30 different themes that we have. And by the time I get to the end of the exhibit, and especially with young people in schools and different things, they are laughing at the images because they don't really realize that images are supposed to be characters of them. And by the time I get to explaining everything to them and all the trials and tribulations that our people went through and all the generations and what generation they are, I try to let them know, it says, you know, the world that we're in today, you have to compete. You've got to be better than anybody else, than everybody else. And so I let them know you just can't spin your wheels. You can't get distracted. And I see a lot of young people today, they are very distracted because there are so many different medias. You have the internet, you have all these different things that distract them. You know, and you kind of ask them, what do they want to be when they grow up? Like Atrilla, I explained that to her. I said, you know, take advantage of everything that they have out there to offer you. Please do that. And so that's, you know, that's the one thing that stays on my mind that's going on today is with the young people. I want them to be able to compete because doors that have been open are closing. They are closing and closing and closing. And you just can't come up with an excuse why I didn't do this and why I do that. You have to make everything work.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sheba?
I think for me, growing up, and like David said, taking opportunities, and with my grandparents, I was always pushed into everything. I remember my grandma signing us up for stuff over by Cal State Long Beach that we weren't interested in. Like, no, go, you're doing it. And instrument lessons, right, the playhouse, where we were always the only little Black kids there. But where she said, hold your head up and go in there, and you're just as good as they are. And so it's encouraging for me to watch my daughter, who is fearless and who will go into any situation with any group of people, regardless of the race. And she is the star of the show. The confidence that she exudes, I think, is something that a lot of African Americans don't have, because we beat ourselves down sometimes when we shouldn't, because we don't know our value and we don't know our worth. And so I think for me as a mom with an African American child, something that I'm facing daily is to maintain just that strength in her, so that as she grows older, she can do anything that she wants to do, because she knows that I'm just as good as the next person. And so dealing with kids in schools on a daily and people in the community, they don't have that. That's not being instilled in them at home. Like my mom said, they're almost conditioned to be entertainers and to, you know, to be athletes, but they're not conditioned to really, even if it's not college, like she said, get a trade, but be the best person that you can be and do what it is that you want to do. So I feel like that is a daily struggle that I see. It's just walking in your light and being confident that you can do whatever you want to achieve.
Thank you. Wanda. I know Wanda has.
I agree with all three of my cousins there. Good messages, good advice. The same thing. I have been doing my encouraging for 50 something years since I'm in my 70s. And it is a big change from back in the days to now. And so I'm just trying to work on doing the same, dealing with Lenahan Foundation and East Bay Women in Action, and we're all organizations, we're all doing things to try to encourage our young people. We're giving summer camp activities for the kids and just doing things to encourage. I encourage my daughter, and we're now encouraging the granddaughter to excel and just do all you can, as much as you can, and not just for yourself, but helping others. And so I'm just enjoying doing that. And I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much. Sharon, did I hear you getting ready to say something else before I wrap up?
Maybe a lot of people that are watching this won't remember this man, but they used to have a telethon and Lou Rawls was over it, and he used to say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I think those words are still prevalent today. Gloria, your program is wonderful. I think people have a lot to gain, and together we can.
But thank you so much. I appreciate all of you for being a part of this today. Thank you to those of you who are watching. I do ask you to share this, and when you have questions, be sure and send questions in to us. You'll see that on the post. You'll see a place where you can actually send questions in, and we'll be using those because we think this is really very educational. You have probably learned that whenever we have these programs, as the host, I get to ask questions, but one of the things that I do have to say is that we never dispute anybody's truth. I hope that I follow through on that today. And so we try not to interject any of our thoughts or whatever, because we want you to hear from the people with the lived experiences. We want you to feel all these different lived experiences that we have out here, and then to be able to sort of sense some of the commonalities that you'll find in them as well. And I think as we go along with this, like I said, we have 75 more to do. And when we do these, I think that you're going to really find it to be just a rich source of conversation. I know some of you here have probably never heard this kinds of conversations before. I've been brought into this world, and I welcome you into this world. I welcome you to hear what our experiences are and how we're seeing life and how we're maneuvering our way through that. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you, Sharon, David. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing with the museum. Sheba, thank you ever so much for everything that you're doing and for sharing your information. Wanda, thank you so much for joining us here today. Much appreciated. And with that, I just want to throw it open here for our last minute here to see if you have just a closing statement that you would like to make, anything you would like to say to your watching audience out there. I think Sharon already did one, but do any of you have something you'd like to say? David, Sheba, Wanda?
Yeah, don't forget to vote. And I think the village is really a great thing. And I just appreciate you for having us.
And for people that are watching on Facebook, I would encourage you to head over to the Forgotten Images Exhibit Facebook page. We talked a lot about the exhibit, but there's a full virtual exhibit where you can walk through and you can see the artifacts. An excellent learning opportunity. And again, thank you to the village for having us.
Thank you. Now is that page, is the name of the page on Facebook Forgotten Images? If they go to Forgotten Images, okay, search Forgotten Images so that you can go over to that page right away. Thank you very much for that. Wanda, did you have a closing statement you'd like to make?
Thank you, Dr. Gloria. I appreciate it. I appreciate my cousins. Of course, I love them dearly. And just stay safe, everyone.
Thank you all. And to our audience out there, please have a good afternoon. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.